So we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of BrewIN TeaVee. Today we have Ken from Sydney tuning in with us to talk about um, tea energy and how to use tea, as part of a healing art. So welcome, Ken.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Yes. And I think that this will be an episode that is quite different to all of our other episodes because this is a very different area of tea that we'll be talking about tonight. So,
Yeah, cool.
firstly, a little bit of an introduction of Ken. The first time I met Ken was in Australian Tea Culture Cinema in 2018, I think. And Was it 18? Yeah. And I sat next to Ken where he was brewing I think it was a pour. And he is probably one of the few other tea lovers in Australia that I know that will, use, have a lot of Yixing pot in his collection. And I remember looking at his pot and it was like, staying with tea and, it is very, very well loved and it's been used for a long period of time. And that memory stuck with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And one of the reason why I thought about you, when we are planning about, brewing TV. Oh, that was the one.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, beautiful. Maybe we can, have a look of some of your collection of teapot.
Yeah, sure.
Teapot. Beautiful. And I have a comment already. I think Amanda said hello. Hello. So firstly, I actually just want to ask about your the business name. You know, for your tea shop.
Yep.
Originally, I thought it means Milky Way. Tian He in Chinese, can be explained as Milky Way. And
Yeah.
then I look closely on your logo. It's not actually Milky Way. So what is it?
Well, I state I don't speak Mandarin. It's very, 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 very rustic. But as I understood it, this business I took it over. So they explained to me it meant more like celestial sky was how they saw it.
Mm,
Heavenly skies, tea through the heavens, that kind of thing. There was the friends who I ended up taking this business from in 2008 or 9 or whenever it was. They'd been in Sydney for a couple of years. Is it better I look directly at this? I suppose so. Yeah, they had the place and they were doing fine dining with tea. And a friend took me round there and it just blew my mind because everyone knew tea to some degree. I drunk a
oh,
bit. I
okay.
drunk bad, the usual bad tea and yum cha and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I wasn't a major tea drinker when I went round there.
Um,
In the past, I had been I've played music for 40 years, and one of my colleagues that I play music with, he grew up in Ceylon at the time, English gentry. So he had a lot of good Sri Lankan tea. The Lebanese use Sri Lankan tea in Sydney.
ah,
In certain places, the Al was there and a couple of other brands. It was really strong tea. I used to drink a lot of that with him, then didn't do much around tea for a couple of years. And then when I went and visited this shop, they served me some Da Hong Pao, which is basically, it's not exactly the same. It's a year after that. And it just changed everything. We sat there and they served me, I think, 22 infusions of the one tea and just, I thought, wow, this is something.
22.
22,
22
yeah.
infusion.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that must have been a good tea.
Yeah, well, all my teas are good. But yes, it can be done if you have the patience, you can brew most good teas that long. But
I have to admit that I had not attempted brewing a tea for 22 times.
Well, you want to have the patience and the people to be there in the situation. It's, then the stories about that, the human will always give up before the tea does. That's,
but like, there will be at some point we just feel like, oh, there's not much left. Like there's no favorite, and then you move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
not.
usually that does unfold that way. But if you're really sitting in patience, you can make it work. Which, maybe I should brew something in a minute. But yeah, that's just how it unfolded. And from there, I ended up with a bit of help from a friend. They had to go back to China. They had a temple that they supported in Anhui, the Dabe temple at the time. They've since changed to a different place, but which I went and visited and all that kind of stuff. But then I was to take the business over, and I'd been doing music for a long, long time and had done some healing work to some degree with some technologies, and figured it was just cut and dried. I had to start. I had suddenly acquired a tea business, but I thought, okay, I don't know how well a tea business in Sydney is going to do when I have rare, expensive tea that no one knows about being served by a Western guy. So I better incorporate it into everything else I'm doing. So there was a tea section to the shop, and tea was my favourite aspect of it. But I realised over the years, working with tea, you go and see a health practitioner, doctor, you sit down and have a consultation. So if you came to me, you had tea as your consultation. So if at least the first couple. So it was basically, if you came, you drank tea before we did anything. And I watched the energy change, and because I was serving very high quality tea, you could see people start to relax, the pressure changed, they'd open up, and I thought, oh, we're onto something here. So very occasionally they didn't even need to have a treatment, but most of the time they were relaxed and started getting better results from the treatments because the tea and the tea ceremony was a part of it. And then, some of those people just started coming and drinking tea after that, but everyone enjoyed the tea aspect of the session. So part of what we did was tea was part of the session of getting on a rife machine or a pulsar or whatever else we were doing.
Okay, so would you say that your tea customers were, most of your regular tea customers were the people who came to you for healing?
Not all, no. There was certainly some people worked out that there was some good tea to be had here, and I served it Gongfu style, and it was sort of different. I took the time to make it as good as possible, but I have an understanding of water, so the water is always very good, highly energized. And I had great tea, and I went to other tea places, introduced myself, and this is not as disrespectful, but I realized the quality of the tea I had. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in China, I was with I can't even remember, it was Master Wang, I think. My friends took me to the man who supplied them tea, who was very high-ranking Chinese official. We went to his son's tea shop, and this was a very pristine, decked-out tea shop. And we were sitting there, and after about half an hour of drinking teas that I knew, there was some couple of oolongs and other things. And I leaned across to my friends and I said, is the water really bad here? What's happened? Because this tea's nowhere near as good as the tea I drink in Sydney with you guys. And I said, no, Mr. Wang's son won't buy tea off his father because it's too expensive. And I went, okay. So it gave me an insight into how, the tea business works, is finding a tea that's a quality that at a good price, whereas my training in tea was the best tea that my friends could get was what I got.
I see.
And it wasn't a or a startup. So it sounds arrogant, but I was sort of spoilt that way. I started on very fine tea and didn't know any difference. So when I went and understood what I had, it was like, oh, okay. I was confident to use it in all the aspects that I was using it in.
Okay, well, now that makes me really curious because unfortunately, Ken's tea didn't arrive in time, so I won't be brewing the same tea as he does. But maybe now is a good time. We will.
16 days it took and still didn't arrive.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that happened to our last session as well. So I finally received Luke's, teacup and his tea. This is from the last tea merchant that we featured, and it's his handmade cup, and it's wood fire. Yeah, so I'm like, finally I can feature this.
Yeah.
One of the videos.
Yeah.
Anyway, so should we start with the first tea? And please give me instruction as in how you will do this, because I would like to, follow your lead. And so we will sort of go through the same process, even though we're not drinking the same tea.
Yeah, okay. I'll just move this mic because you don't need to look at my mug anymore. I'm trying to set it up. Let's just try and check. Does that look okay?
Yeah. I'll give you the full screen.
Yeah, if you want to. It's just I'll move this one. So just to see. Oh, okay, there you go. That seems to work. I'll usually rinse the pot first, of course.
I just want to say that Jason had commented that you has the best tea in town, so he must have tried it.
Okay, cool.
Jason Levitt, if that rings a bell, Ken.
Jason, yep. There we go. So I don't necessarily measure the amount of tea I use.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes when I'm using this thing, I'll at least cover the bottom, but it sort of depends. If I was brewing for more than me, I'd use more tea.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that the tea will at least fill 1/3 of your teapot?
I'd have to look. Yeah, that looks about right.
Okay.
I don't know. So I'll do a rinse because that's protocol.
Yes.
A lot of my teas I don't rinse because I know they're organic, so I don't really worry. But
yeah, I don't rinse my tea either.
And it's a sort of a waste with a tea like this, but we'll just get it. I've got 2 cups here, even though it's just me. But
yeah.
Get rid of the rest.
So
I should be watching the screen, I guess.
That's fine. So I just put my tea in. And what sort of teapot you're using today?
This is a Yixing pot. This one I just used for oolong.
Yeah.
This is an old teapot I got from the boys. That's I use that predominantly for green.
Okay.
Which
That's really cool. I like the shape of it.
Yeah, it's a great alternative. I should know the names of all these things. I forget all that stuff, I'm not.
This is a very nice looking one.
Yeah. And it was one of the ones that I got when I took over, and I've used it for green tea because it was green, but may not be the best. But it's great for some green teas, but if they're really fine, it gets a little bit blocked. But
I see.
Anyway, we'll go on all this talk of oolong. We may as well pour one.
Yeah.
That's probably enough brew, short brew. We could use this, but I guess I should. Keep political. It's part of the experiment we can try for people. if you get the tea, that's something I could use this for, I guess. If you pour the tea straight into the cup versus in a pitcher, there is a difference.
Yeah. What is the difference?
Well, it's always hotter if you pour straight out of the pot.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
But it also,
I feel silly.
it's one less step of energy. It's not always better, but it's that was part. I have done some. I learned some stuff from my friends, and I learned some stuff by doing it, and I have done some stuff with the Global Tea Hut. And that was one of their things which I did like. Is the aim is to get the water from the kettle into your cup at as close to the same temperature as possible, and that breaking that one step is a good way to do it.
Okay.
If I'm serving a few people, it's much easier this way. But if in a more ceremonial manner, you just go straight into the cups.
Yeah. So why do we want the tea temperature to be hotter? Or how does it, what is the difference in energy with the tea going to the gongdao bay and the tea going into the cup?
It's one more step of interference, I guess. And it's on one level, if you're quietly focused on your teapot and then you're going from one to the other, there is the water temperature thing, but if I really contemplate it, there's even a bit more in that, because you're interrupting the process again, getting the tea to the person. It's not a bad thing, and it's a beautiful tradition, but it's just another way to contemplate this stuff if you're really working with it.
Okay.
And when I'm serving a few people and you're in conversation and all that kind of stuff, using the pitcher it's more polite, it's nicer, and it's better. But if a couple of people come and we're not going to talk and it's all about just sitting experiencing the tea, then let's give the highest opportunity we can to have as pristine an experience as we can.
Okay. Well, I guess I will just ask my first question for the day. Yep. So what is healing art, and how does tea play a part in it?
Yeah, we touched on that a bit. Do you want to stay on this, or do you want to look at my noggin?
I'll follow your lead. You tell me. But I will say that one of the light is shining into the camera and make it a little bit blurry. So if you can block that light off, then we can see your tea wares a bit better. Yeah, much better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right, I'll move that away a bit. Yeah, okay. I'll brew another tea. The healing art was just, everyone needed a name. You need a name for your business.
Yeah.
And out of respect for my friends, it was called Tian He that the boys had in Sydney. So out of respect for that, I kept that. Because I didn't want to change that aspect. And then we just added the healing arts because that was part of what was going to happen. And I originally had a partner in the shop who was doing some of the healing work. I was more focused on the tea. There was two aspects of that. But as I spoke earlier, the tea became an integral part of it. And as my journeys unfolded and learnt more and more about what tea really is, I see it. I've been to China a few times. I've been blessed to sit in forests have tea ceremonies in forests of 1,200-year-old trees and things like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, sitting in a forest that's all tea is pretty amazing.
May I ask you about what sort of ceremony, did they do in China for you?
Bit of everything, so some areas are more gongfu. When we're outside, obviously, was the bowls, using the tea bowls, and either leaves in a bowl or serving a pot. Mostly in that situation, I think it was leaves in a bowl rather than doing the stuff. Generally speaking, the morning tea I have will be bowl tea because it's relaxing and it's more easygoing. Gongfu I serve before to customers before sessions, and then when I do the outdoor sessions, that's bowl tea because it's much easier that way. I do like doing tea outside.
Okay, I see.
Got reasonably good at it, so that's part of what I like sharing. If
and
people
which tea region did you
want it.
Yeah, and which tea region did you visit?
I've been. Well, I was in Anhui, where the green areas. I've been to the Wuyi area on the original trip, and subsequent to that, we were in Ailao, and I think it's Jingmai. Excuse my pronunciation. Okay. Yeah, and
no, I understand.
And areas like that, and the second trip to Fujian, and the names of a couple of the towns have escaped me, but we went to an area where they grew wild and organic tea kuan yin, and some other areas. So I had some great experiences. I understand the difference between the plantation and the old trees. There is a difference. It's not to be critical of one or the other or anything, but when you get into the energy of it and the understanding, that's part of what I'm grateful to the tea hut, because Wood came and did a couple of sessions in the tea room when it was there, and it was all very random. And to go back to the energy of the old trees and stuff like that, he was talking about he did a tea ceremony, and he said, look, the teas will last a long time. So I thought, he said, test it out for yourself. So at the end of the ceremony, which had just served probably 8 or 9 rounds of tea to maybe 10 people or something, instead of throwing the leaves away, I went, okay, let's see. So I grabbed a handful of these used leaves, put them in a teapot, and then every second day I brewed a tea off it.
Every second day?
And if after 3 months I stopped.
What?
Yeah, because I just wanted to check that theory that the tea will keep going. And the main reason I stopped was because it was just, it had broken down and was so muddy. It didn't go moldy at all. That it was just too hard to pour. So I gave up.
Okay. But you could still taste it.
Yes. And so I do that quite regularly. And, when you have the great teas, it is possible to do that.
Yeah, then the tea will never be so expensive then if it lasts and lasts and lasts.
Correct. Well, that's part of the learning. That's it is something on a commercial level that I think is good to get to people, that everyone sells the tea as they see it and how they feel it, but tea, there are many things in life, but tea is one thing. If you spend on correct tea, which is what I and others can help you do, rather than marketed tea, and there's a big difference between the legitimate tea that comes from a place. Everyone says their tea is that, but I've been blessed to be lucky to find the places. Then you'll pay more for the tea, but technically it's better value because you can use it for longer infusions. And once you learn each tea, you can generally use less tea. So it's either about the same price or different. And, you can do that by comparing, some of the teas that you could get off me with other things and just learn,
Yeah. So I guess my next question for you, and are you still doing a demonstration, or can we go back?
Yeah, can do. Keep telling me. I'll brew as much as you like. I don't know what people want to see, and because
Oh yeah, but I think that if we are in conversation, perhaps it's better to see you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll go to that. I'll just warm this up a bit.
Yeah, but I also quite like your cups. They look like they are, they don't look like modern ceramics.
Oh no, these are old.
They look old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're 30, 40-year old, I think.
Wow. Okay. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean everyone tea nerds out here, but these are that's the set I use for most people. I keep these ones just for myself and my partner. But so we'll excuse me, everyone. Jump back up here. Trying to be tricky.
Yes. So my next question for you is which tea has the highest healing properties? And I guess I'm asking these, let's just say that I'm a customer and, I'm very interested in, the sort of tea that, you offer. But like, being someone who doesn't know a lot and click into your website, it can look quite confusing. So, it's one is like which tea to choose and, how is it good for me, so what advice will you give to people as in, what they're trying to achieve here with your tea?
Yeah, it's a good and difficult question. It comes down to taste as well, your sense of adventure, but it's also, if it was someone who never tried it, I'd probably suggest find out what tea they like first. And, because of the healing thing, a lot of the people, some people that used to come, they think, I drink lots of herbal teas and tisanes and stuff. And I go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And, my snob nature goes, oh, well, that's not tea. That's a tisana. That's a herbal brew. It doesn't come from a tea plant, so it's not tea.
Two of us, so.
Yeah. But there are people who love that stuff, and I didn't drink any kind of caffeinated tea for years. 15 years ago, I was making my brews of dandelion and licorice root and all those kind of things, and I love them, and I still do most days. But tea is tea, because as I've learned more about tea is consciousness. I can't say anything other than that. It's come to me that consciousness in the tradition of the Vedas, which is one of the spiritual alignments through, basically everything comes from it. Tea is associated with Buddha, and then there is with Shiva and all that. But the Vedas, there are places of all thought. The place of all thought is Purusha Akasha. People may have heard of the Akashic records. It goes to that term that, none of us ever have an original thought. All thoughts exist, but as you vibrate in certain levels, you tap into that level. And I see tea having its own place in the Akasha. To me, tea is consciousness. Tea is a place of thought. And when you get to access tea with grown off seed or from a forest, you're accessing that 100, 200, 1,000 years of nature, 1,000 years of soil, rainfall, minerals, nutrients, the change of stuff. On a functional level like that. So it's just, I see tea as energy, but it's a place of consciousness that it's beyond the human. So when you take that into you go beyond your human. So the distractions of human life can change, and tea proved that many, many, many times.
Yeah. So hearing that, as someone who, I'm familiar with, that sort of vocabulary, I think that, a few questions might rise. And firstly, you said tea is consciousness. And then, do you mean that, the physical tea that we're drinking, it is sort of like the radio to help us to tap into that consciousness? Is that what you mean?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
the tea, I believe tea, because everything comes from thought. It's a vibration, densified sound.
Yeah.
So, which is probably why I ended up being a musician. But it's everything has a vibration. So a tea bush has, And, I think it's also carried by the skill of the tea maker, the respect given, the traditional cultures that are harvesting all that stuff, he's been with them for thousands of years. It is their spirit. Everything has spirit, but the consciousness exists, but the leaves are the physical manifestation of that thought form.
Okay.
And then the intent you put into that can help. Good water, all that, it's a question. I mean,
I
we
see.
prepared.
But my next question will be, following what you say, everything has a spirit. Then, if tea is consciousness, then everything can be consciousness.
Correct.
So, then, we can drink alcohol is consciousness. We can drink, I don't know, coffee is consciousness. Then, but why tea then?
It's a different level of vibratory field.
Okay.
It's not densified, and it's some things are enjoyable beverages. Tea transcends all of that. It's good wine can do certain things, but there's a certain level of most of those other things you spoke of. It becomes unconscious.
Coffee?
With alcohol, you become unconscious, not conscious.
Well,
You can get a bit too drunk, but you're never not connected, would be my answer to that.
Yeah. But like spirits cause spirits. That would be some of the argument, like, it gives you the false sense that, you are spirited,
Yeah, I mean, it can be useful. It can open you up. It can do all those kind of things. It's not wrong, but I maybe on some mezcal a couple of times, but I've never experienced. That was why the first time I had Da Hong Pao touch me, because I'd never imbibed something that got me to that place, because I'd been meditating for 20 years or something already. And it also instantly dropped me. It's like, oh, okay. This is familiar, but it's a feeling, and
So what is that feeling? Will you be able to, tell us? Like, I would say that I'm someone who tried to meditate, but I don't think I had successfully achieved, or at least I didn't achieve what I had imagined it to be. But then,
that's because you had an impression of what it should be.
Maybe.
Yeah,
no, like I don't know. I don't know what it should be. I don't even know what it feel like or look like, and that's why I'm curious what it is. But then I drink tea maybe 3 times a day, but then I don't feel that.
Yeah. Well, let's try an experiment. You're brewing a tea, I'm brewing a tea. If anyone's doing it at home, well, this is something to remember.
Yeah.
We'll try this. This is probably a quick, easy way to get an understanding. So just pour a part of your cup, and then just sort of drink it while we're talking. This is how I'm drinking some tea. It's now sit and pour another cup.
Okay.
And quietly.
Okay.
If you have it. And then put your focus, like feel every bit where it's going in your body. And I'm interrupting it because I'm talking, because we have to. But what is the tea, and where's it going, and what is it doing, and where is it moving, rather than sort of drinking and go, oh yeah, that flavor does this and that, which is great. Every aspect of that is important. But if you stop for a minute and then after that go, okay.
All right, I'm gonna try this I'm gonna not talk for 30 seconds and see if it makes a difference. Yeah.
And I'll direct you through it. So just once the tea's in your mouth, feel what is it as an energy, and then what's it doing? Is it saying anything? And then as you swallow it, where is it going? And even then consciously, okay, where in my body is there tension? Can the tea go there and help me ease it? Or just being consciously part of feeling where it goes, and just the stopping and feeling and paying attention can change the experience.
I sort of feel like it's going into my head.
Yeah.
I don't know if I imagine it.
But it's good. It's part of the thing. It's like you say, you don't know if you're meditating. If you breathe in, count to 4, hold it for 2, then breathe out. Just breathe in, breathe out. Everything changes. Tea does the same. It's the stopping, and that's what I think. One of the great things about tea is it brings people together, but they stop. They might be talking amongst it, but that's what struck me. Whether this still happens in China, I don't know. But when I was traveling with my friends the first time, everywhere we went, every house we went in, we had, meetings with town mayors, because it was fairly unusual. We're in some pretty small towns, and here's a long-haired white guy walking around with a couple of Chinese fellas. It attracted attention.
How long ago was that?
That was 2008, I think it was.
Okay.
So it wasn't like now. They weren't as accustomed to it,
Yeah.
And if you to add to that, my 2 friends were partners, so that added another dimension to the whole thing. But we were welcomed everywhere, and we went to town meetings, we went business meetings, wherever we went, people sat down and drank tea to start with. And I thought, this is cool. Tea is part of everyone coming together. It's a shared experience. They're happy to show you the tea that they drink in their town. If it's a local tea, or some towns you go to, they just drink tea kuan yin, even though they don't grow it. Other areas, they drink the tea they grow, and everything else is rubbish, which is great. And so, but I thought, wow, imagine if all Western business meetings started with people stopping, drinking tea, and then understanding from some of the mystical stuff I'd learned over the years in meditation practices, and tea works for different things. If you drink green tea with the intent, it removes you from decision. The emotion attached to decision disperses when you drink green tea.
Really? Is that a good thing?
Well, it can be. If you go to an old, say, for example, the way it was put to me to help understand it was, samurais could sit down, warriors could sit down, share some tea, and then one of them will pull out his sword and cut the other guy's head off. Okay. Because it has to be done. Not thinking about, geez, I don't really want to kill this bloke because I'm drinking tea. It has to be done. I'm not now promoting that we go out and cut each other's heads off anywhere. It's the point I'm making, and I have found that if you have to make an important decision and you're umming and ahhing, get a good green tea and sit there and focus for a few minutes with the tea, and it can help you get some clarity.
Wow.
You asked me to suggest things for other people, if some of the old tree puras are, they're an amazingly powerful thing. It's but it depends on the person. If you're coming to good tea and you're coming out of herbal tea, then perhaps getting a really good white tea is the way to go. Because it's high antioxidant. It's not very fermented. You can be familiar with the taste. It's uplifting, but it still has energy.
I would say that herbal tea use the same sort of processing as white tea. I just realized that the other day. Yeah, it's true to some degree. And then if you get into the high quality, I've got some cakes of white tea that are like 10 years old, really high quality, and you can get pretty stoned on them like you can off a pura. But it's just part of it. It's any tea can get you in that place if it's good quality and you take the time to sit with it and investigate it.
it's a lot of fun. You know, I love the oolongs. They can, and you know, I've learned tea was always teaching me at the shop. Even it's a great reflection on yourself. You asked about the other healing aspects. I remember a couple of great lessons I got. There was one guy who used to come to the shop a lot. He was a great guy, and we became good friends. But I remember one day he was in there and said, serve some tea. Maybe he said, we're doing that. And he just would not shut up. I was serving tea. He was asking me questions about this and questions about that, and I was serving tea. And I remember I served him a Da Hong Pao because I thought, oh, maybe we can shut him up with this. And about 3 or 4 rounds in, he's still going on. And I remember sitting to myself in about round infusion 3 going, fuck, I wish you'd shut up, mate, and just drink the tea. And I just kept pouring the tea. Round 5, he shut up. He stopped talking, and we sat there and had 2 rounds really quietly. And I went, that was a really good reflection back to me of my arrogance, but also the learning of how this can work with patience and allow the situation and the nature and allow tea to do its work in conjunction with humans and stuff like that. So it was constantly teaching me that. And, you know, I see some great things, the pressure drop off for people, all those kind of things. And, you know, I work with other
you say that, you know, when someone is talking a lot, that is actually also like, you know, means that he has a lot of energy that needs to be released, right?
Yeah. And yeah, it's fine. But, you know, everything happened. So he found his peace and I found my peace in different ways. But by my not interfering and allowing the journey, that happened. And many times that would happen. And, you know, as I said earlier, quite often people would come in, especially because the technology I work with is unusual. And if they come in with a health issue and they've tried other things, it's like, you know, who's this bloke and that kind of stuff. So I'd sit down and, you know, if they were anxious to tell me something or, you know, they had a problem and weren't sure, you sit down and drink tea with them for half an hour and they're relaxed enough to be happy to share or relaxed enough to know sometimes that their issue isn't an issue, it's just them thinking too much. It just depends. And on other serious things, it's just a great way to bond. The other thing that brought me to thinking tea was consciousness is purely and simply that it puts the patient, customer on the same page as me. We're in the same energy zone. Yeah. So then we're comfortable to move on to the other technologies to do the work or not, but you become in the same zone. And, you know.
But would you say that you will be able to do that with other things as well?
Other than tea?
Yeah.
I don't know because I use tea.
Yeah, but I do think that, you know, tea is a very good way to, you know, I don't know, socialize or get connected, you know.
Absolutely. That's what tea is all about, bringing people together. But it's the nuances. Everything is subtle levels. You can approach it. I guess that's the great thing about tea, you know, even, you know, sucking in the depth of levels I've reached with tea has also made it much easier for me if I go somewhere and someone chucks a Lipton's tea bag and serves me a cup of tea. Rather than turn my nose up, I go, okay, somewhere I've sat in a forest full of old tea trees. You come from that somewhere. It's a long, long way and it's very, very devolved, but you're still there.
Okay. Oh, so, that's, you know, a good way to look at it because I just say no to tea bags, you know, majority of the time. I'd rather have it.
I don't go out of my way to be in positions where I have to, but it's also, that's the thing. If you end up somewhere, and you know that's what they have. Oh, you like tea? Here, have a tea. It's like, yeah, it's not necessarily the tea I would choose to drink, but I can sit there and just put my mind back to a forest or just go, yeah, I'll graciously accept it.
I see.
Tea brings people together and it's part of the sharing.
Yeah. So, I appreciate you telling me that. I think that I need to change a little bit about that, like, you know, too snobby.
Maybe not. You know, it's whatever serves you because, you know, it's just a situation. I'd be equally as snobby on most levels, but it's because we drink good tea and have tea, and tea is part of life. So it takes it from there. But tea being part of life is, I guess, we don't encourage or help someone adventure from what tea they know to something else without being supportive of it to some degree.
Yes. And I just want to say again, Amanda commented that she also agreed that tea can slow things down for her.
Yep.
Going back to the question about how do you work with tea, or another question is that, do you drink tea casually outside healing? So what is your daily tea routine look like?
Generally speaking, some mornings it's get up and meditate, depends on the time, but it's usually, without going into too much personal stuff, but Marina and myself will get up, we'll muscle test the tea. There's a form of kinesiology where the body, there's a resonant energy which you can test. The consciousness, the awareness in the body can allow you to understand what serves your body. And it can unlock secrets. It's a whole other field of stuff. But sort of fun, we take it in turns to choose a tea each morning, and then we'll go and sit and drink tea before we start the day. Of whatever it is we're going to do. So we'll share a tea, generally bowl tea, and discuss the day, discuss the world, the politics, whatever, or just sit there quietly as well. Then, if people are booking in for tea or treatments, they come around, we do that. And if no one's around, well, that's when we'll often have a gong fu ceremony.
By yourself?
Yeah, or just the two of us. Sometimes by myself. It's it just depends. Tea is a shared thing, but it is also nice to drink it on your own and see where you're at.
Yeah, I see. So it sounds like that you will be drinking tea throughout the day.
Yes. Yeah, some days when the shop was running, some days it was a lot of tea.
Okay.
And I had music and sound goes well with tea. That was also helpful. I'll send you a link to share with people. There is a song where I recorded some sounds in that tea forest and put some music to it. And every time I put that music on, it takes me back there. So I made it specifically at about a 15-minute piece of music, which is about the time someone can sit and have a tea ceremony. And you're basically hearing the sounds and the insects from the forest in Jingmai while you're drinking your tea with some electric guitar and some other stuff. Most people I've played it to works quite well, but it's downloadable or streamable, all that kind of stuff. We used to do a lot of drinking tea and listening to records and social situations on Saturdays at the shop. But even within then, that was the beauty of the understanding. People say, "Hey, what do you do?" I said, "We sit down and we'll drink tea, and we'll drink quite a lot. We'll have a lot of infusions, and we can talk about everything from music to footy to politics to deep spirituality, and all in the same conversation and all within 10 minutes, because the flow of the energy in the conversation goes that way.
Yeah.
And we're not to judge it,
Yeah. I think that,
answer your question,
yeah, that sounds like how I talk just normally, with or without tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
tea's a focal point.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that this might be a good time to show that your website here.
Okay.
So Ken does like he had mentioned before, tea ceremony. So you can make a booking, and if it's more than 4 people, he can actually go to you. and he's based in Sydney, so might be hard for those in other states, to try to book an appointment. But he also teaches
for anyone at the moment, but I can do it. I do come playing music from time to time to other states, so it can be worked out.
Oh, okay. So let us know, when you're in town,
Yep.
in Melbourne. So he offer a Kung Fu Cha session and also a bowl ceremony.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
So you
So you were saying that, because tea is actually only part of your business, the other part, the healing arts. And you were saying that sometimes, people go to you with a health problems and you will assess them first with a few tea session. And sometimes you don't even have to go to, the other part of your business, and the tea itself is enough to, settle things down.
Yeah, it can be. Not always, but sometimes, yep. I like it when it's that, but at the same time, the technology's here to help. That's a different part of it. Tonight we're focused on tea, and if you look at the site, there's a few sections. You just go and look at the tea section. If tea's what you're interested, if you're curious about the other stuff, it's there. But that's stuff that has to be a little more careful. No claims are made on any of that stuff, but I can claim that the tea is fantastic.
Yeah. So, given that, what sort of tea would you recommend, for us to try?
Well, I think there was 3. I do have some specialized, very high, very, very lovely oolongs, wee oolongs. I do have a little bit for sale of some old tree Sheng and Show. So rather than spending, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a cake, if you want to just see what I've got some teas from Ilau and a couple of other places. If you want to just get 25 grams, which is enough to get an understanding of a few infusions of a tea, a few different sessions, they're verified, hundreds, if not thousands of year-old trees in these cakes. And
wow. Okay.
part of what I also, the teas that if they'd had arrived, if Australia Post had done an aspect of their job, the Preaching the green tea that I have here, which is first April flush, it's a really beautiful green tea. If you like that, it's very subtle but very powerful, and it's all another part of the learning for me has been there's photos of the tea master and a bit of those fields on the site, but one of the beauties of learning from tea and understanding the exact opposite of commercial tea is I've been blessed. For the first, I think, 6 years of my business, I got tea every year from one particular farm, the temple in Darby, but then they changed that, and now every year I get a tea from the same farm in Amway from Mr. Zhou. And what's beautiful is every year the tea tastes different. So when you first try it, you go the first couple of years, I was, oh, geez, that's different. I wonder if they've made a mistake or something. Then you go, okay. So you get to taste whether the snow was deeper this year. You test if it's drier. You taste like this year's tea compared to last year. I love it because it's a much more subtle flavour, but I find it even more powerful. So it sits much heavier in the body, but the flavours you need to work more to understand. And whereas the year before it was the opposite. But that's what's wonderful about this. Every year the tea tastes, it's the same tea with the same principles, but every year you can taste that nature has done its job and changed it. The other thing on a purely self-centered level, I love drinking teas that are more than 20 years old because there's no Wi-Fi in them. There's no mobile phone towers in them and any of that stuff. So that helps.
So,
Keep going.
what you mean is this tea were grown and made where no Wi-Fi exists, and Wi-Fi definitely
exist, it was a lot less. Because I noticed I was sad that when I was first in Wu Yi, and there was up on top of King Mountain or whatever it's called, there was a big tower up there, and up on Phoenix Mountain when we were there, you're looking around and there's some famous 600, 700, 800-year-old trees there, and sadly you notice that they're starting to die, and the local they're carefully protecting them and stuff. But then, you look in one area and there's these beautiful trees, you turn and look and you think, well, there's 6 mobile phone towers now on top of that mountain and you're wondering why the trees are dying. Could be a coincidence, but maybe it has something to do with it. And it's a part of life, but it's part of that aspect. I think it's something that it all needs to be considered. By supporting organic farming, it helps a lot by supporting all this, but, doing your best to sort of raise the awareness of, somehow getting that. I don't know how we do it, but, keeping the radiation away from tea as much as possible. It's everywhere. We become accustomed to it, but there is that aspect.
Yeah. Well, I don't have an answer. I don't think anyone do.
I don't think anyone does anymore. You can protect
Yeah.
yourself with some devices and stuff like that, but it's a part of it. But supporting the more regional, rural places can help.
But I think that sometimes for something to happen, the scale have to tip one way, enough for it to go the other way, much like a seesaw. So,
Yes.
all in all, I'm still quite optimistic about our future.
We are the creators of the consciousness, so you have to remain optimistic. Absolutely, that's important. To remain that way. I was very nervous when I started in tea that the amount of chemicals being used and the forest getting ripped up, that we might not have any decent tea left. The one of the good things you can say about Western people getting more interested in tea is then there's more awareness of organics and taking care of it, using less chemicals and processing. So that helps. Even like my tea friends and partners, when they started, they used to go around to small areas and buy a little bit of tea, handmade traditional tea, and then they'd buy what they could. Then the next year they'd come back and find that they'd used chemicals to grow more tea because they thought they might buy more. So they sort of learnt that by talking to the farmers and going, hey, because they're simple people, they just want to feed themselves, buying less tea and getting them to make the traditional tea, supporting that helps that happening. And, it's not to say don't have tea farms. It's not to say any of that. It's where you can support by spending your dollars, spend a bit more or consciously do some research on an area to know that maybe there's less chemicals on it, or they're maintaining some trees amongst their forest, their tea gardens, and using different processing does help. If you blindly keep buying really chemical laden tea, then the chances are people will keep making it. But if organic teas and sustainably made teas from any part of the world become more popular and you support the slightly more expensive price, then you're maintaining that to be the tea you want to drink for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So we are coming close to 1 hour. So I might just wrap up here. But like from what I'm hearing throughout the 1 hour, I think that there are a few things that I had learned. Is one, your tea style are majority organic.
Yeah.
So they're organic
may not be
tea.
certified, but they're traditional farming or chemical free.
Yeah. So and then a lot of them are from old trees, because what you're looking for is the energy aspect of the tea. I'm going to sneak in one question there where I was trying to ask but didn't get a chance to. Have you tried any tea that doesn't taste very good in the palate but have really good energy? Can that happen?
It's a personal tasting. I can't remember. It might not be a tea I've liked, but it's got the energy. Yes. But in 90% of cases, probably more, it goes hand in hand because the well-made tea tastes good as well.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And that,
unusual maybe rather than bad, but and a lot of it can be it's like a couple of teas I've had over the years where I've had to learn to brew them because the way that I thought to brew this tea doesn't work. They tasted astringent, bitter, too strong, whatever. So that's another part of it. It's learning the tea you're brewing and finding the way that works best for you, but also understanding on those levels. I know there's a lot of people who measure and they can find the right degree for the tea, and I understand that. Someone can serve me a tea that's 1 degree different than another. I can taste the difference. I can see the difference and all that, but I'm just not interested.
I see.
It's totally fine. It is correct and it works, but I just don't want to waste that much time thinking about tea. I want to experience and share the tea with myself and customers rather than going at, if I make a mistake, then it's like, okay, how do I fix this? Not, be that focus. But if that's your thing and you have worked to that level of understanding that this tea tastes better at 88 than 89 or 94 degrees, go for it. Because it probably does. But
It does.
I don't care.
Yeah. But in saying that they also, we have also tested that, really good quality and then well-made tea would taste good no matter how high the temperature is.
Correct.
It's too yeah. So maybe that is why you were saying you only use really good quality tea, and that's why you don't need to pay attention on the brewing method.
Yep. And I definitely do. When you focus, it's not to not say it. It's not to I would never say don't focus on doing or don't care about it, because it's really important. But having good tea enhances that experience. It's more forgiving, but at the same time you can learn more and even understand how you like tea better by using better tea and focusing on that. But if you're serving tea to some friends and you're just sitting around shooting the shit, then having good tea is much more forgiving if you brew it a bit longer or boil the water too much, because you're right. I won't overboil tea for white or green tea. I know all those things and respect them. But if you make a mistake and it's too hot, a really good tea, you just go, oops, rather than So I didn't respect the tea well enough, but it's good enough to respect me back by still tasting and feeling good.
Yeah. So continuing in what I was saying, so Ken only sell really good quality tea and mostly organic and then old tree. And another thing is, he specialized in using tea as a media for healing. So to learn more, you're welcome to go to the website here that I'm pointing at. And thank you so much, Ken, in talking to us about the aspect of tea that perhaps not a lot of people talk about openly, but I do know a lot of people practice this, in their own tea practice. So that was great. And then I also want to say that we have one last episode next week. Sorry, not next week. This Saturday at 2 p.m. with Jen from WA. Yes, if I forget, Jen from Ripple Effect Tea. So remember to tune in, and I will see you then. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.